I'm 29 and currently living what I thought would be the happiest time of my life. I was 7 months pregnant, finally settled after years of financial struggles, and my husband and I had just moved into a small but cozy house closer to my family. Everything seemed to be aligning perfectly until my older sister, Tara, dropped a bomb on us that completely turned my world upside down. Tara is 33, and we've always had this weirdly strained relationship. She's the type of person who always has to be the center of attention. Every birthday, every holiday, even my wedding somehow ended up being about her. Still, she's my sister, and I always tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. When she told me she was pregnant, just a month after I announced mine, I was genuinely happy for her. Or, at least, I tried to be. She didn't have a partner at the time, and claimed it was a surprise from a brief fling she wasn't ready to talk about. My mom, of course, showered her with sympathy and praise for bravely doing it alone, and from then on, every family conversation revolved around Tara and her journey. I didn't mind too much. I figured we could share the joy, both of us expecting babies so close together. It felt surreal. But things started getting strange. Tara never showed up to any of her doctor's appointments. She always had a reason: too busy, switched providers, didn't want to jinx it. She avoided ultrasounds and never posted a single bump picture, claiming she was keeping it private for emotional reasons. Meanwhile, she became obsessed with mine. She wanted weekly updates, constant photos, kept bringing gifts for the baby, and even started helping me design the nursery. At first, I thought she was just being supportive. But now, looking back, I should have known something was wrong. At some point, Tara's excitement turned possessive. She started referring to my baby as our little angel. At first, I laughed it off. She's always been dramatic, and I figured she just felt connected because we were pregnant at the same time. But then she started doing weird things. One day, I came home from a checkup to find her in my house. She'd let herself in using the spare key we keep hidden under a garden gnome. She'd rearranged the entire nursery without asking. She'd moved the crib to a different wall, brought in clothes I'd never seen before, and even changed the color scheme. She said it was more gender neutral and that babies need balance. I was polite but firm. I told her I appreciated the help, but she needed to ask before changing things in my home. She acted like I'd slapped her. Told me I was being hormonal and ungrateful, that she just wanted to surprise me. That night, I hid the spare key somewhere else. Then things escalated. She started showing up unannounced. Always alone, always a little too eager to check in. She'd ask me over and over how I was feeling, what the doctors said, what hospital I was delivering at. She even asked for a copy of my birth plan just in case something happened and she had to step in. That one made my skin crawl. I started getting a really uneasy feeling around her, but every time I tried to talk to my husband or my mom about it, they brushed it off. My husband said she was just excited to be an aunt. My mom practically snapped at me, saying Tara was going through enough being a single mom and I should be grateful to have a sister who cared so much. The guilt worked. I let it go. But I wish I hadn't, because what happened next still makes my stomach turn. 3 weeks before my due date, Tara called me in the middle of the night, sobbing. She said she'd lost the baby. A silent miscarriage, she whispered through tears, completely devastated. I was stunned. I didn't even know what to say, I just cried with her. She refused to go to the hospital, said she'd already passed everything at home and didn't want anyone to see her like that. My mom rushed over to her place, and I didn't hear much else except that she was resting and needed space. I spent the next few days feeling so guilty. I'd been annoyed by her behavior, even suspicious, and now here she was, going through one of the worst things imaginable. I felt like a monster. I offered her anything I could think of as meals, company, space, but she refused everything. Said she couldn't face me yet, that it hurt too much to see my pregnancy when she'd just lost hers. I understood, and I backed off. But something didn't sit right. When I asked my mom what exactly had happened, she was vague. She said it wasn't her place to share details and that Tara wasn't ready to talk. When I asked if a doctor had confirmed anything, she snapped again. Told me to stop prying and respect her grief. So I let it be. But I started noticing small, strange things. Tara never posted about the miscarriage. No friends mentioned it, not even the few who were supposedly helping her cope. And the biggest red flag? My mom, who had been mourning right along with her, suddenly stopped bringing her up altogether. It was like the tragedy had been wiped away overnight. Meanwhile, Tara slowly started inserting herself into my life again. But now she wasn't just being nosy, she was planning. She wanted to be in the delivery room. At first, I said no. I told her gently that I wanted my husband and my mom with me, no one else. She acted hurt, but said she understood. Then she started showing up more frequently, always with some excuse. Dropping off food. Asking to just sit with me. Saying things like, "I feel so connected to this baby. It's all that's keeping me sane." I didn't know what to say. My husband was trying to keep things calm, reminding me that she was grieving, that maybe the baby gave her something to focus on. But it was getting under my skin. Then she did something I still can't believe. She asked if I'd consider naming the baby after her, as a tribute to her loss. I was so caught off guard that I just stared at her. When I didn't answer right away, she gave me this strange smile and said, "Well, think about it. I'm sure it'll feel right once she's here." She wasn't asking. She was assuming. And that night, I started going through her old social media posts. I couldn't find a single mention of her pregnancy, no baby bump, no announcement, nothing. Not even a post about the miscarriage. She'd always been the oversharer in our family. It didn't make sense. That's when I finally admitted it to myself. Something was very wrong. I started to wonder if she'd ever been pregnant at all. After that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every conversation, every strange look, every odd comment she'd made in the past few months. The puzzle pieces were starting to click, and they painted a picture I didn't want to believe. I decided to call one of Tara's close friends, someone I used to be close with too before life got in the way. I asked her if she knew anything about the miscarriage. There was a long pause. Then she said, "Miscarriage?" Tara told me she terminated the pregnancy months ago. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. She said Tara claimed it was a tough choice and didn't want to talk about it. But it didn't line up with anything Tara had told us. One version said loss. The other said choice. And neither included a single shred of medical evidence. No doctor's name. No dates. Nothing. I didn't know who to believe anymore. The next day, I asked my mom directly if she had ever actually seen any proof Tara was pregnant. Ultrasounds. Doctor visits. Even a bump. She got defensive immediately. Said she wasn't keeping tabs and that I was being insensitive. But I saw it in her eyes, doubt. Tara had isolated just enough of us to keep us all confused. She had told different versions of the story to different people, making it impossible to pin anything down. But now I couldn't stop thinking, if she never was pregnant, what was she planning? And then something happened that made it all too real. Tara showed up at my house with a packed hospital bag. For herself. She said it was just in case. Just in case something went wrong. Just in case we needed her. Just in case I changed my mind. I stared at the duffel bag in her hand, speechless. She'd even brought snacks, a phone charger, a change of clothes. She was preparing to be in that delivery room like it was her own baby on the way. My husband pulled me aside afterward and said he felt like we were missing something big. That maybe it was more than grief. That maybe, just maybe, Tara had never lost anything, because there had never been anything to lose. We started locking the doors all the time. My mom was frustrated but stayed quiet. I think deep down she suspected something too, but couldn't bear to face it. Tara started acting more erratic. She'd show up uninvited and get angry when we didn't let her in. She even tried convincing my mom that I was too emotional to make decisions and needed someone more stable at the birth. She was positioning herself like a guardian, a caretaker, like this wasn't my child at all, but something we were sharing. The day I went into labor, I told the nurses she was not to be allowed anywhere near my room. I made it absolutely clear, only my husband and mom. I didn't care how upset she'd be. But someone must have said something. Because she showed up at the hospital anyway, wearing a maternity robe. My husband saw her first, standing at the nurse's station, holding her belly like she was the one in labor. She was rubbing it slowly, dramatically, and talking to a nurse in this soft, practiced voice. He said she was due any day now and was just looking for her sister's room to support her during delivery. The nurse seemed confused, unsure of what to believe. That's when my husband stepped in. He rushed over and firmly told the nurse that Tara was not a patient and not allowed in the room. He didn't yell, didn't make a scene, just calmly said, "She's not pregnant. She's not part of this." Tara's face changed in an instant. She dropped the act, narrowed her eyes, and stormed off without saying another word. But not before muttering something under her breath, something my husband didn't catch at the time, but I heard later. "She's not fit to be a mom anyway." When he told me that part, it felt like I was freezing from the inside out. The hospital put a note on my chart. No visitors except those on my pre-approved list. They even added a security guard near the maternity wing just in case. That's how far it had gone. I tried to focus on the labor, but the fear wouldn't leave me. Not of the pain. Not of complications. But of Tara. What if she was still planning something? I had no idea just how far she was willing to go. The delivery went smoothly, painful, exhausting, emotional, but when I held my daughter for the first time, everything else faded. For a moment, it was just me, her, and my husband. Safe. Whole. We were transferred to the postpartum room a few hours later. My mom brought flowers and food, and for the first time in months, I felt at peace. But that peace didn't last long. At 2 a.m., a nurse entered quietly and gently asked to check on the baby. I was half asleep but nodded. She picked up my daughter and said she'd return her after the standard checkup in the nursery. It was routine, she said. Only it wasn't. Because an hour passed. Then 2. At 4:17 a.m., I hit the call button, asking where my daughter was. The night nurse came in, confused. She checked the charts, looked around, then quickly left without saying anything. 10 minutes later, she returned, with security. That's when I learned the most horrifying detail of my life. There was no nurse on the floor scheduled to collect my baby at 2 a.m. No records. No check-ins. No badge scans. Nothing. Someone had walked into my room in scrubs and taken her. And that's when I knew, it had to be Tara. Security moved fast. The hospital went into partial lockdown. Alarms were silent but procedures kicked in immediately, entrances sealed, footage pulled, every baby in the ward accounted for. Except mine. My husband was frantic, demanding answers. I couldn't even stand, still numb from the epidural, heart pounding so hard I thought it would stop. A nurse stayed by my side, trying to keep me calm, while another staff member combed through surveillance footage. 20 agonizing minutes later, they found her. Tara. Wearing scrubs she must have stolen or bought online, calmly walking out of the nursery wing with a covered bundle in her arms. But she didn't leave through the main exit. She slipped down a side corridor, one most visitors never even see, and used an emergency stairwell. No cameras there. No alarms. It looked like she knew exactly what she was doing. The only reason she didn't make it farther? She tripped the parking garage motion sensor. A guard caught her trying to buckle my baby into the back seat of her car. She told them she was transferring her niece to a different hospital because I wasn't emotionally stable enough to raise a child. She actually said that. They arrested her on the spot. Tara was taken into custody that morning, and my daughter was returned to me unharmed, thank God. But the trauma of those few hours. I don't think it will ever leave me. I couldn't stop shaking for 2 days. I barely slept. I kept watching her breathe, scared I'd blink and she'd be gone again. She had a hospital band on her tiny ankle and a red scratch on her cheek from the chaos. That mark haunted me more than anything. The police later told us Tara had been planning this for months. She never was pregnant. Not even close. She'd faked the symptoms, bought a fake bump online, and started spinning her story to manipulate everyone around her, including my mom. She even went as far as creating fake ultrasound images she showed to friends. She had no intention of ever having a child of her own. Her plan was to steal mine. Her twisted logic? I didn't deserve to be a mother because I had everything she didn't, a husband, stability, a home, support. In her mind, I had taken her future. So she decided to take mine. Tara is now facing charges for attempted kidnapping, impersonating medical staff, and several other counts. My mom still hasn't fully accepted the truth, though she's finally stopped defending her. My husband installed cameras all over the house, changed every lock, even replaced the baby monitor with a security system. I've gone from terrified to angry to numb. What still eats at me is how close she got. She would have taken my daughter. She would have disappeared. And no one would have believed it until it was far too late. Sometimes I look at my baby sleeping peacefully and wonder, how do you ever protect someone from the people you're supposed to trust most? I've stopped trying to understand Tara. Some things don't deserve empathy. I just hold my daughter tighter. And I make sure every door is locked. Every single night.